welcome to We Did a Podcast with David and Frank, who almost forgot the name of the podcast for a second. Today we're going to be talking about some special crimes that happened in a special time of the year. These are Christmas crimes, and I believe we both did murders. Happened that way.
Just a coincidence.
So yeah, before we get started, we just want a quick disclaimer. We are not glorifying murder, definitely. We're not glorifying the murderers themselves. This is just a topic that we find and a lot of people find interesting, the area of true crime and specifically murder. I personally enjoy people watching, and a part of that is like psychology and the fact that the human mind is a beautifully complex thing, and when it breaks, sometimes some really bad stuff can happen.
That's true. That's true. It's really what all those stories kind of come down to, like someone being pushed to a limit by a variety of factors.
Oh, yeah.
If you're, we usually don't talk about stuff that's this graphic. I know my story in particular has some things in it that are just real intense. So if you're not down for that, this is probably a good time to click on an older episode or just wait till, another 3 weeks or something. But, I've always thought this is so interesting that we, as a society, are totally okay with stories of murder, or at least a large majority of us are. That there's so many, shows or movies that are based on true crimes, where it seems like there's part of it that is insensitive, and then at the same time, some of it that seems to our nature that we're interested in these kind of stories. Like if you really just think about what man has seen as entertainment throughout thousands of years. I think it's fascinating. I just think it's an interesting little point. But yes, we're not trying to say, these are cool people or something. It's just the stories are interesting.
Very uncool people, as a matter of fact.
Uncool people.
Bad murderers.
Yeah. Don't murder. Stay in school.
If you're thinking about murdering, don't.
Just think about it and then be like, nope.
Yeah, just don't do it.
It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now that we got that out of the way, let's dive right in. My murder choice is from 2008.
Okay.
It takes place in Covina, California. It is referred to as the Covina Massacre,
all right,
where a family of 9 people were brutally killed on Christmas Eve. We're going to kind of back up a little bit and go through time, take a little time travel to find out, what exactly happened or what the motivations were behind this. The man who committed the crime, his name was Bruce Jeffrey Pardo. He, in 2008, I think he was 47. He was in his late 40s. He's a man who, throughout his life, makes a ton of choices where you can kind of see that he only really cares about himself. He's not really interested in other people, which is, to a degree, you think about sociopaths or psychopaths, their lack of empathy or their ability to dissociate themselves from other people.
Not really the one love type.
Exactly. It shows itself early, I guess. And when you look at the picture from far away, you see the whole thing. Throughout his life, the first notable thing, I guess, or kind of showcases this sort of behavior was in 1989. He was a young guy in his 20s. He had a fiance named Dalia. The two of them were together for quite a while. They planned this wedding. They planned a honeymoon and everything. He just doesn't show up at the wedding. Just doesn't show up. And she finds out after she had paid for most of the wedding too herself, because he
good prank.
Did not have a good prank. He took $3,000 out of their joint checking account and just left. He took a little vacation. I think it was Palm Springs or Florida. I don't know, somewhere not in California or wherever he was at. Effectively ending the relationship, in case you're wondering. But
that's a pretty good way to finalize a relationship.
Yeah.
There's no you don't feel like there's anything left unsaid.
Exactly. You want to put the stamp down and make sure everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Just don't show up, steal $3,000, take off to Florida. Unless you live in Florida, then take off somewhere else.
Not exactly a clean cut, but severed.
Severed, yeah. That's a perfect word for it.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to jump ahead now. We're going to go 12 years in the future. He's now, single bachelor, living it up. He's 37 in 2001. He has a longtime girlfriend named Eleanor. Together, they have a baby, a 13-month-old son named Matthew.
She birthed a 13 13th month
Yes.
old son.
It was a
I
crazy.
stumbled through
modern
that because I was
pregnancy.
so excited about it. Yeah,
It was
I couldn't get it out.
the miracles of modern medicine. Everybody,
Wow, amazing.
amazing. So Eleanor goes out, somewhere shopping with friends. I'm not exactly sure where.
Doing lady stuff.
Doing something, yeah. While she's away, obviously, Pardo is in charge of watching the child. He, I guess, doesn't watch the child as, Is it sexist to say that men don't watch children as well as women? Because I'm getting a little bit sidetracked here. But I think about just in my childhood and all the stories they tell me is about my dad not watching me very well.
They definitely watch them differently.
Right? I think so. They get a little
There's
more
for
like,
sure a different flavor.
it's like, oh, what's going to happen if he does this or she
Yeah.
does this?
Like, oh, cool, I get to play with a kid. And it's not like
Yeah.
a cooperative play, but like, what could I get this kid to do?
It's more like a puppy kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, sorry, let's get back to the serious, darker thing. While she's out, Pardo is watching the child, but not watching the child well enough. The kid falls into their backyard swimming
He's not
pool.
going so much off of like, ooh, and this is even going to be a little bit bad taste
Oh,
now. But
no.
you know what? I've already set a
Oh,
course
no.
and I'm going for it. He's not so much going out of the Cosby book of parenting. Yeesh.
This is like the
Oh, you're-
Clapton book of parenting. Is that where you were going with it?
And that's why we work together.
That's
Yeah.
you set him up. I'm spiking him in. This is a Rocket League play in the making right here. Yes, more Rocket League talk.
Apologies.
Okay, so man, this feels so weird going back to the serious thing. He falls into this pool and becomes he suffocates for a while. When they get him out, she comes home, finds Pardo there with the kid in his arms, very upset. The son Matthew suffers brain damage, and he becomes paraplegic. He becomes at 13 months old,
Man.
essentially.
Never even got a chance to crawl.
Oh my god. I think 13 months old crawl.
Maybe. He might have been bad at it.
I don't know anything about babies. Anyways, she leaves him. And at this point, and it's typical in relationships, something terrible happens. It puts a lot of pressure on the relationship,
Oh, yeah.
especially when someone's just not watching the kid right. So it's definitely someone to blame, right? He completely detaches himself from this. He never makes contact with his family again. His mother still keeps in contact with Eleanor and with her grandson. But Pardo decides, you know what? I'm wiping my hands. I'm walking away from the situation. He just totally separates himself.
Just checks out.
So now we're going to go ahead even a little bit further. 2006, he meets Sylvia through some friends at work. She is divorced, she has kids from a previous relationship. She has 3 children. They meet, they click, they start doing the family thing. They're just being all family. And in 2006, they get married. They get married that same year. They become just the poster family. They go to church every Sunday. He's like an usher at their Catholic church and everything. They're having a good time. But they start to have some arguments here and there about how we raise kids or like his behavior. She has some problems with it. She has a discussion with Pardo's mother. And Pardo's mom spills the beans on his previous relationship, which up until this point, she didn't even know about. So he marries this new lady and doesn't tell her that, I had this relationship with the son and he fell in the, all of that's a mystery. She finds out about this, and obviously her opinion of this man has completely changed, justfully so.
Yeah.
And
That's some pretty heavy information.
Right. So then... basically, and then here's the best part. I forgot about this. This deadbeat Bruce over here, he's been claiming his son on his taxes. The son that he's not having any communication with, the one he's just abandoned, he's still claiming him as a dependent to get money back from the government.
Wow.
Which is incredible. Like, it's one thing to just be, okay, I'm separating myself, but it's another thing to acknowledge it and try and make money off of it. It's just... that's his character. You know what I mean? That's what kind of person he is.
Typical Bruce move.
So April 2008, Bruce. You can't trust a name like Bruce, right?
No.
We don't know any Bruces you can trust. April 2008, she files for divorce. She wants to get separated from Pardo.
Good move.
So this whole thing starts, the wheels start turning in divorce court. June 13th. And here's where we're really going to start jumping through time. So April, they file for divorce. June 13th, Pardo goes and drops $1,000 in cash for a 9mm handgun at a store called Gun World. So he buys his first gun. This is important.
Which just shows like erratic behavior. You can buy a gun for way less money than that.
For $1,000? Yeah, $1,000 is a lot for a handgun, which is what I was thinking when I read this.
What time is this too?
2008.
All right, it was like a little while ago, but it was.
It wasn't. Yeah.
$1,000 for a gun. Calm down.
That's a lot. He's really not spending his money well. June 18th. Of course, this is California, so maybe guns cost more. There's got to be kind of taxes on it.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, we live in Texas, so we just. You
walk down Circle K, you get yourself a gun, a vending machine. It's like $30. They give you a free round of ammunition.
But definitely not that quite there.
Not there yet.
But almost.
Well, hopefully not. June 18th, just a couple days later, he's ordered to pay spousal support. $1,785 a month. Whew. Okay, everybody. First off, I gotta say, man, spousal support sounds awful. Like child support sounds bad, but spousal support is just like, man, you guys were in a relationship, you're separated now, but you know what? She got used to that money, so now you got to pay it up. I mean, it's just like, oh my gosh, he paid for the house, which I guess is the reason why. I just think, man. I hear about people who have to like pay child support. Like I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I have some friends who maybe now are paying child support, who are my age, and I'm just like, dude, you're gonna be taking $1,000 out of your paycheck for the next 13 years. That's insane.
So I guess one small like takeaway to get from this story is either like make better decisions, or when your bad decisions come to bite you in the butt, like stick it out and work it out. It's gonna be cheaper.
Yeah, I guess so, right? How much is what can you buy with $1,700 is the question. Okay, anyways. So, July 31st, he's fired from his job for filing fraudulent hours.
Hey, that'll do it.
That'll do it, man.
Companies
That's just
usually
stealing.
don't like it when you do stuff like that.
They usually don't like it when you're blatantly stealing from them. He tries to file for workers' compensation because obviously now he's got to pay a lot of money. He can't even get workers' comp because he's fired on something that's his fault. So
there's no way you could have accidentally done that.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, so he's out. And now
you see, I have a loose relationship with time. Time is kind of relative to me.
Time's really just a human construct. Okay, so he's denied workers' comp. August 8th, he goes and he buys another 9mm handgun, again for $1,000 from the same store. He goes back almost exactly a month later. And this store in California, they have a rule where you can't buy a firearm within a month. You only buy one gun a month. So he waited a month. He bought a second gun.
Again, foreign to us.
Yeah.
Living in Texas.
Totally weird, right? It's like, hey, you go down to Sam's, you're like, oh, hey, 12 gauge shotguns. They got 3 in a pack for $60. Let's get that thing in there. August 8th, he buys that gun. September 8th, exactly a month later, he goes back, he buys a third handgun from Gun World, another 9mm handgun. He also goes to Jerry's Costumes, and he orders a custom Santa costume. Bruce is 6'4". He's a giant guy, so he has to get himself a custom-made Santa outfit. He also
you can't buy Santa outfit off the rack. He's 6'4".
You can't. He requests extra room on the inside too, that he says for comfort reasons. He drops
Bruce is packing.
He drops a $200 deposit. October 11th, he goes to visit his friend Steve Irwin. Now, let's not get excited, everybody. I don't remember when Steve Irwin died. It's in the same Steve Irwin. This guy's in Canada. He goes and visits Steve Irwin. He purchases a fourth gun during this time. He talks to Steve, who's known him for a long time. Steve has a happy family himself. And he's just basically telling him, man, I feel like I'm pushed up in a corner. I don't really have a lot of options. And on top of all this, in divorce court, all of this information is now public record. Like him getting fired, him not being able to get workers' comp, all this stuff is just being thrown out in divorce court. where he's just kind of being ridiculed, or at least he feels that way.
I mean, where they're painting an accurate picture of who this man is.
Yeah, right.
Is really what's happening.
He's getting accused for being exactly how he is. Then, and this part hurt me a little bit. I mean, even this guy's a dirtbag already, right? Everything we just know about him, he's a deadbeat. His mom sits with the other family at the divorce court hearings.
Good move on mom, though.
Dude, I know, but talk about stabbing him and twisting the blade. That's intense stuff. Okay, so
I like that.
November 13th, he buys his 5th 9mm handgun.
You know, I accuse this man for not making wise fiscal decisions, but at least he's keeping it in the 9mm, so he only has to buy like one type of ammo.
That's
9mm is a very affordable round.
I like that you brought this up. They later found 2 shotguns at his house. I never read about where he purchased those shotguns, but pretty much his whole crime, he is just using 9mm, and the rounds do come into it too. So Frank, your wheels are turning like a serial killer. So it makes me a little bit alarmed.
Don't worry, David. Just be comfy. You can trust me.
December 18th, the divorce is finally finalized. Pardo pays $10,000 in the settlement. That's a heavy amount of money.
It's a hefty sum. It's a lot of guns he could have bought.
This is December 18th. The very next day, December 19th, Frank's birthday. Then we jump ahead, December 22nd. This guy buys a round-trip plane ticket that would depart Christmas morning. So he sets up, and the plane leaves at like 9 or 11 a.m. or something. So the idea is, whatever happens Christmas Eve, maybe he's going to book his way out of here the very next day. December 24th. I'm sorry. I skipped one other thing on December 22nd. After buying the plane ticket, he also rents 2 cars, 2 separate vehicles from different rental places. And this all kind of, man, this last part of it, it really comes together and it builds up in a way that is crazy. December 24th. Pardo, first off, has already agreed to be an usher at his church's midnight mass for Christmas Eve. He never shows up for that. Pardo leaves his house at night, dressed in a Santa costume. He sees his neighbor while he's leaving. His neighbor says, hey, how's it going? Merry Christmas. He's like, well, I'm just heading to a holiday party. Have a good night. Merry Christmas. They have a pleasant exchange. Nothing seems out of the ordinary. Pardo shows up to his now ex-wife's parents' house, where he knows they're having a Christmas party, because this is something they do every year. He rings the doorbell. The doorbell is opened by an 8-year-old who I think is one of his ex-wife's nieces. She's obviously excited because it's Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. He's showing up at the house. He pulls out one of his guns and shoots her in the head. This girl just right away. He brought this like pressurized tank of racing fuel. He starts to spray down the entire place. He's opening fire. He's getting this fuel all over the party. All these people are just, in the party panicking. While he's doing this racing fuel, he intended to have it go up with a flare. He was going to trigger it. There were 2 fireplaces in the house already going off. And as you can imagine, once the racing fuel hit that, the whole thing just engulfed it, and there was a giant explosion from the canister inside, which ends up killing a ton of people in there. Like, it's so hard that the cops aren't sure who was shot and killed and who was burned to death. And the people that are inside the house, most of them had to be identified by their dental records.
Ooh, that's never good.
The fire went for 2 hours. It took 80 firefighters to put the flame out because of this accelerant. It was such an intense heat. During this fire and attack, he kills 9 people. Sylvia, his ex-wife, her parents, Sylvia's 2 brothers and their wives, Sylvia's sister and her sister's son, her nephew, was 17 at the time. Those 9 people die. The little girl who got shot in the face and her mother, they actually live.
Oh, wow.
They escape, I guess, in the confusion, and go 2 doors down where they meet. A neighbor takes them in, basically. They call the police, and and that's another thing that's interesting. We live in such a weird time where all these crimes that have taken place, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you can just hear everything you want to hear about it on the internet and get like the firsthand account. You get like the news report and you get the 911 calls and everything. So I listened to some of those because of this attack and all the people who died, which is pretty much that whole generation of Sylvia's family, her brothers and sisters. 13 people were orphaned on Christmas Eve.
Oh my
13 different children because of what happened. Now, during the attack, and this is where the whole thing gets kind of fuzzy about what was his intention. They find out that he had a car in front of his ex-wife's lawyer's house, which had them assume that he was going to be going there later to attack him after this crime. There's also evidence that he was planning on killing his own mother after this thing. So he was going to make multiple stops. However, because of the explosion and the fire, the Santa suit caught on fire. It actually melted into his skin. So he was now like not in a position where he could really do anything. He gets in his car. He takes off the Santa clothes that he has. He rigs up the car as a bomb so that if someone messes with the Santa Claus thing, it's going to explode with 200 rounds of 9mm ammunition that he has left. He goes some distance to his brother's house. His brother's not home at the moment. He goes inside, gets to the couch, and ends up shooting himself in the head and killing himself. There is some observations made by the police where they think that the airplane ticket was a false lead that he did on purpose to kind of trick them.
Just a red herring.
Because the other rented car he had was loaded with maps of like southern United States, food, money, fuel. He had this whole thing ready to go. So while they were looking one place, he'd just be gone. He made the plan to do this crime and then leave.
He just botched a little bit when he melted his Santa suit onto himself.
Exactly. They found out that he had $17,000 strapped to his leg underneath the Santa suit, and that was still there when they found his body. That's pretty much the entire case. I saw a couple interviews with one of the ladies who survived the attack, and just kind of talking about it and saying, that the family really didn't deserve this, and it's exactly what you're talking about before. People are put under an immense amount of stress. This guy probably feels like his life is going nowhere, justifiably, because he's led it into
because of the decisions that he made.
Because his decisions are terrible, and everything he's done is an answer for that. And unfortunately, a whole family almost got killed because of it.
Yeah.
And you watch.
I mean, and 13 other like lives changed forever.
And definitely like that whole season is going to be impossibly difficult for them for the rest of their life. That's going to be tough stuff. Yeah, man, that's what I got. Heavy story over here. Happened, and it's just a small little California town too. Wow. Not a place you'd expect this thing, but it just happened on Christmas Eve. I think it's just real scary stuff. And I definitely don't want to make this about gun control, but when you think about the story about him buying one handgun a month for 5 months, there's just got to be a red flag that goes off somewhere.
I mean, dude was just crazy also because he only needed the one. Right?
Really? Yeah. And I was trying to think about that. I was like, okay, what was his reasoning behind that? Maybe he thought, instead of reloading, just drop the gun, pull out another gun. Maybe that's easier.
Maybe.
Requires less training to do it that way.
Did they find like other guns in the car that he left behind?
No, but
was it just ammunition?
They found just ammunition inside the Santa suit. He had all the guns like inside the suit. He was just completely strapped. They found shotguns at his house, which kind of makes you wonder why he wouldn't use that. But I mean, I guess the handgun's more concealed. Of course, you can make the argument, gun or no gun. He rigged that bomb. He went through methodically, planned this.
He was intent on doing some harm for sure.
Yeah, he was gonna do something no matter what. Just a real sad situation, Frank. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this thing? You want to go into yours? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I do believe we need to switch out the tapes on our iPhones here.
Oh, switch out the tapes?
Yeah. So in the meantime, David, why don't you, I don't know, in post, get these guys like picture of puppies in snow or something.
We can do that. good, like a kitten in a bakery. I'm gonna see if I can find that. In case people are, I mean, I'm sure you've had to have noticed, unless this is your first podcast, we've never had video before, so this is something new. I'm trying not to look at it. We are using iPhones to do this, so we're just making sure that we don't run out of space or something while we're doing it. Because that would be unfortunate if, like, the last 20 minutes of the video it suddenly cuts to one camera and then we just got to deal with it.
Just straight audio.
So, yeah, whatever. Let's know what you think, though. If you dig it. If this is your first podcast and you're like, whoa, these guys are just, like, really dark. No, it's usually
not this dark.
No, maybe more cynical, but not this dark.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Sure. That's a fair assessment. So yeah, I'm going to get into mine, I guess. And I mean, we're just going to keep being heavy. So I hope you enjoyed those puppies and those kittens. Yeah. Hopefully, who knows if they're were kittens or not. That remains to be seen. But yeah, here we go. Strap up. So on July 15th, 1940, in Chicago, Illinois, Ronald Gene Simmons was born. His parents were Loretta and William Simmons. His father died of a stroke in 1943, and Loretta remarried within a year. It had to have been kind of rough. To William D. Griffin, who was he worked for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So like his family changed a little bit structure. Dad dies. Okay. Like within a year, mom's remarried to this other dude, and then they start bouncing around like central Kansas for his job because he works for the U.S. Army. Okay. So you're gonna bounce around a little bit. In September 15th, 1957, Ronald drops out of school and joins the U.S. Navy, and he gets stationed in the Naval Station Bremerton in Washington State. This is where he meets his wife, Bersabe Rebecca Ulibari, or Becky for short. Oh, yeah, I should put this down.
Stop put that pen down, man.
I just like clicking it so much.
I'm going to get you a fidget spinner for the show.
A really quiet one, though. Yeah. A really good fidget spinner.
Really oil up that gear in there.
So, yeah, Ronald Simmons meets his wife, Becky, and they get married in 1960, a few years later. Together they have 7 children: Ronald Jr., Loretta, Eddie, Marianne, Rebecca, William, and Sheila. This is our family. This is the Simmons clan, if you will. Characters. Simmons left the Navy in 1963 and joined the Air Force about 2 years later. So he leaves the military, decides wants to go back to military, but he's done with the water, wants to hang out in the sky a little bit. He was awarded a Bronze Star Medal, the Republic of Vietnam Gallantry Cross, and the Air Force Ribbon for Excellence in Marksmanship during his 20 years of service for the military, and finally retires from his military service in 1979 as a Master Sergeant.
Wow.
So yeah, I spent some time in the military, all that good stuff.
Master Sergeant sounds like an impressive title. I really don't know how high that is.
I mean, I'm sure it's good.
Sounds cool, though.
Sounds real good.
Master Sergeant.
So he's in about 2 years into his retirement, is just kind of hanging back, kicking around. He starts being investigated. They're living in Cloudcroft, New Mexico, which is a few hours away from here. Yeah, right. A place I've spent a lot of my childhood.
Yeah.
They're living in Cloudcroft, New Mexico at the time. Simmons starts to get investigated by the Department of Human Services up there due to allegations that he had fathered a child with his 17-year-old daughter, Sheila, whom he had been sexually abusing.
Okay.
So they've got these 7 kids. It's obviously not the happiest childhood.
Yeah.
I couldn't find a lot of information on if these other kids were going through abuse, whether it be sexual, physical, or emotional abuse. I couldn't really find any info. But sure, there were some bad things going on with Sheila. So this was all this was all true. They weren't just allegations that this innocent man was trying to run away from. But that's exactly what he did. He packed up the family and he left New Mexico, and they moved to Word, Arkansas in 1981.
Word.
Yeah, Word indeed. And they hang out in Word for a minute, and nothing's really going on. And then they move over to Dover, Arkansas in 1983.
Sorry, you just reminded me of I'm sure. Is that what you're doing?
What am I
that
doing?
Vine with that lady who's like, "Why is this Kansas and this isn't Arkansas?" Explain, America.
Yeah, for reals. I know how to read, and it's annoying, and that's Arkansas.
It should be Arkansas. Anyways, well,
So yeah, here we go. Get used to it. So they finally settle in Dover. This is where like the family's gonna live out the rest of their life.
Okay.
Everybody's like in Dover having a, well, let's be honest, a not great time. The family lived on a 13-acre plot of land, which later became known as Mockingbird Hill, which is like a beautiful name. I get like this really nice picture in my head. Not what this place is. Their home is like two older mobile homes
okay.
that they've opened up the walls on and joined together to create like one bigger like home. There's no indoor plumbing in this place, and there's no phone. I believe they have like basic electricity. Excuse me, I'm a little hiccupy. And there's like a makeshift privacy fence that Simmons built around the property, and it's just kind of all like rickety and stuff. And some points it's like 10 feet high, so it's a little bit of like a foreboding presence. It doesn't look like a happy, fun time kind of place.
I gotta say already the setting that you're describing is terribly scary, man.
Not happy times.
Does not sound
this
happy
isn't
at all.
a happy,
It
fun
sounds
time,
spooky.
feel good tale. No. So yeah, this is basically our setting. In the time that the family's living in Arkansas, Simmons like commutes to work. He just works various low-paying like odd jobs in the nearby town of Russellville. Some of the jobs he worked, these are actually the last couple of jobs he worked. He worked for Woodline Motor Freight as an accounts receivable clerk, which, I mean, part of my job that I have to do is some accounts receivable stuff, and it's not even a big part of my job, but every time I have to do it, I'm super annoyed. So that couldn't have been like, very fulfilling.
Okay.
He quit due to reports of inappropriate sexual advances and ended up at Sinclair Mini Mart for 1.5 years before he quit in December of 1987. And to be more exact, December 18th, 1987. And I made some notes while you were telling your story because you were hitting some like similar dates, and I was like, wow, what a coincidence.
That's
and then
weird.
I had an afterthought that was like, well, we're both doing Christmas crimes. Obviously, there's going to be some similar dates.
Oh, yeah,
that
well, like,
involve
yeah.
like the specific time of year.
What? Christmas Eve?
Yeah. Right. Oh my God.
So is this before or after he starts Kiss?
Before or after he starts Kiss? No, this isn't Richard Simmons. You're confusing him with Richard Simmons, who and we're not saying Richard. Richard.
You're
Simmons.
getting way
And
confused.
it's so funny because when I was like, I kept calling Ronald Gene Simmons Richard Simmons, like in my head when I was writing my notes, just to be like cheeky and having fun with myself. So, and the Gene Simmons is right there. That's like the easy part.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That went right over my head. Joke number 2 right over my head this episode, David. I like it. So yeah, that brings us to 1987. Simmons is now out of work.
Okay.
Got kind of ran out of one job before quitting the other for being a creep. This is like not a super nice guy.
Okay.
You know, not somebody you want to kick
Not
back
a
and have a
super
couple
nice
beers
guy.
with. So I couldn't find the information on. They know for sure this was a premeditated crime, but I couldn't find any like of his confessions or anything like that where he's talking about like when he came up with this plan and everything. But he definitely knew what he was going to do. And he did it, or at least started doing it, on the morning of December 22nd. That morning, Simmons shot his wife, Rebecca, with a .22 caliber pistol, and his eldest son, Gene, as well, killing them both. They are now dead. He then strangles his 3-year-old granddaughter, Barbara, and he dumps those bodies into a cesspit that previously he had made the kids dig up. And if you're not familiar with the cesspit, it is essentially just like a makeshift septic tank kind of deal.
Yeah.
Simmons then waits for the other children to get home, and he tells the children that he has presents for all of them, but he wants to give them to them like one by one. So he leads these kids over to this like barrel full of rainwater that's just been collecting.
Okay.
And the first child to go is Loretta, I believe. And he strangles them and holds their head under the water. and he systematically, individually kills Loretta, Eddie, Marianne, and Becky, like the same way every time. Which is, I mean, horrible. You know what I mean? Like these kids come home, it's like right around Christmas. Dad's got a surprise for presents, and then, I mean, one by one, they're just getting murdered. And I was thinking about like, I couldn't find details on exactly how it had been laid out, but I just imagine like the kids being on one side of this mobile home, and them walking like around the side with Dad to like go get their present, and then especially towards the end, like them just seeing this. Their other siblings haven't come back yet. They're just seeing this like barrel full of rainwater.
Yeah.
And just like water splashed everywhere. You know what I mean? Like what's happening here? I don't know. It could have. They had to have gotten a feeling that like something weird was going on. You know what I mean? So at this point, he has killed. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members of his family at this point. And then he just like hangs out at the house for 4 days. He's just like chilling. Because he knows that the rest of the family members are coming over for like their Christmas time visit. So all he has to do is wait. And midday, December 26th, what is it, 4 days later? Yeah, 4 days later, the remaining family members start to arrive. The first of those family members are his son, Billy, and his wife, Loretta, who were shot dead. And he strangled their 20-month-old like son to death. So he's just like wiping out the family. Simmons then shoots and kills Sheila, the victim of his abuse, the one who had to birth a child like from this father.
Yeah.
He kills Sheila's husband, Dennis McNutty, by shooting him as well, and strangles like his daughter by Sheila, Sylvia Gale, who was 20 months old. Oh, no, yeah. So there was 2 kids. Sorry, I'm just reading my notes for a second. But yeah, he kills Sheila's husband, Dennis, strangles Sylvia, his daughter by Sheila, and their 20-month-old grandson, Michael.
Wow.
Strangled as well. He collects all the bodies, at least the bigger bodies, and puts them in the den, I believe it was, like the living room. And everybody's body gets covered with coats except for Sheila, the like victim of his abuse. She gets covered with Becky's like best table linen. That's what it was. Which I thought like psychologically kind of speaks to like his motives behind this. Like he's just been he was a dirtbag, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think like he just got to the point in his life where he couldn't live with himself anymore. And in his twisted mind, like neither could the family like live with any of this. So I'm sure there was like a lot going on in the house that we don't know about. But I just thought that was interesting that everybody just got covered in jackets and she got like the nicest linen in the house. I think that shows like some remorse and some guilt there for sure. The 2 grandsons weren't collected the same way and covered in the living room. They were wrapped in plastic sheeting, and he left those 2 bodies in separate abandoned cars, like down the lane where they lived. Simmons then just goes down to the local bar and has a couple of drinks, and he goes home and drinks beer and watches TV for like the rest of that night and the next day. Just like hangs out and gets drunk and watches TV with like his family's corpses surrounding him. So like he's had his time to chill a little bit. On the morning of December 28th, Simmons then drives down to Russellville, the town that he worked in. He walks into a law office and kills Kathy Kendrick, the receptionist, and excuse me, I'm reading my notes wrong again. He kills Kathy Kendrick, who was the receptionist and a young woman that Simmons had been infatuated with previously, and she had just shot Simmons down. So obviously he was like bitter about that. He then leaves this law office, heads to an oil company office where he fatally shot a man named J.D. Chafin, and he shot and wounded Russ Taylor, the owner of that oil company. He then leaves that oil company. He's just like on a roll now, really trying to get some stuff done. He drives to a convenience store he previously worked at, shooting 2 or more people, and those people survived their injuries. He didn't kill those couple of people, fortunately. Simmons leaves the convenience store on this rampage, heads to the offices of the Woodline Motor Freight Company, where he had previously been fired over allegations of sexual misconduct. And he shot and wounded just a woman that was sitting in the office. He takes a seat in the office and just starts to chat with one of the secretaries while they wait for the cops to show up.
Whoa.
Which is like hanging out, having a conversation.
Yeah.
Cops show up, surrenders his weapon, and there's no resistance at all.
That's crazy.
Just like allows himself to be arrested at the end of this like crazy crime spree. So yeah, pretty sick dude so far. That is the crime.
So, is he still alive today? Did he get the death penalty? What happened with this guy?
Well, we'll continue on, David.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
Yeah.
Part 2. All right.
Yeah. I just I needed to stop for a second. It was like,
yeah. Whew, that's a lot, man.
Dude, just
how
like,
many was it?
The total?
Yeah.
So he's charged with 16 counts of murder. He's found guilty of every single charge, and he's sentenced to death. Simmons refuses any appeals, and he states, "To those who oppose the death penalty, in my particular case, anything short of death would be cruel and unusual punishment." This is like something he said on his own accord.
Okay.
He also made a statement like in support of his sentence, and this statement was made under oath in court. I, Ronald Gene Simmons Sr., want it to be known that it is my wish and my desire that absolutely no action by anybody be taken to appeal or in any way change this sentence. It is further respectfully requested that this sentence be carried out expeditiously. And that's a direct quote like from the court records that he said under oath. During his time on death row, he had to be separated from the other inmates because his life was threatened constantly. And the reason for that, I mean, it's a prison thing. When you kill like kids, obviously you're going to be a target.
Yeah.
But one of the things that was particularly like angering the prisoners in this case was they thought his refusal to any kind of appeal in his case was damaging their chances of winning their appeals in their cases.
Oh, okay.
So, which is really like, it's not so much that this guy doesn't want to appeal his case. It's the fact that you're the kind of person who would make a threat against somebody's life for inconveniencing your life is the whole reason you're on death row in the first place.
Yeah.
So that was just a thought I had that was kind of funny to me. Another inmate actually tried to force an appeal in his case, and it ended up being the subject of a Supreme Court hearing. And that court was Whitmore versus Arkansas. Finally, Arkansas governor at the time, Bill Saxman Clinton, signed an executive warrant on May 31st, 1990. And on June 25th, Ronald Gene Simmons Sr. was put to death by lethal injection. His body was not claimed, and he was buried in a potter's field, which is just like a municipal field for unclaimed bodies and the indigent.
Wow, okay.
His last meal on death row was steak and raw vegetables.
Sorry, it sounds like some Charles Dickens stuff. He was buried in a potter's field.
I'm sure that's like where it comes from.
Maybe actually. Wow, that's pretty crazy. You know, I got a little distracted at the end because I just started thinking about like the morality of the death penalty, and if this guy wanted the death penalty so bad,
That's exactly what we shouldn't have done.
Isn't it a bigger punishment to make him live it out? Yeah,
Oh, for sure. Just give that guy life, no parole.
It's hard to say because then at the same time now taxpayers are paying money for someone, but I don't know. That's crazy, man. I mean, if I had someone who was asking for the death penalty, I probably wouldn't do it.
No.
I'd make them
Chess, not checkers.
just crack boulders for the rest of their lives or something. There's got to be a better. That's worth the money or whatever. I don't know.
for sure.
That's gross. You know, well, these are just such extreme crimes too that it seems like the regular justice system or like penalties don't really apply or work as well. I don't know what the right term would be.
I mean, there's something just extra sickening. Like, at least I thought about my case a lot, and then this is just something about all like family annihilation murders. It's like the really gross thing about it is this person gets himself into a situation, and they not only are like they gonna take themselves out of the like this situation of like life, but then they have like the audacity and the gall to think that they have to take everybody else with them.
Yeah, and that's kind of is similar to the story that I was sharing because, you know, if he wanted revenge, he could have just killed, his ex-wife Sylvia, but he decides, well, no, I got to get her parents too. I got to get all these people who were like
It's gonna cause the
ridiculing me.
most
who,
pain possible.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy mindset that people get into. It's kind of hard to believe like that someone could get to that point, but it happens a lot.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, most murders are crimes of passion, aren't they? Or you're at least murdered by someone that you know. That's what it is. That's some heavy stuff, Franklin. That's some heavy stuff. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Oof. Those are gruesome. Those are gruesome stuff. I just think, man, and then in your story, it's somehow even more messed up because when I think about Pardo from the Covina massacre, he did all that, like he meticulously planned for months. His was a very staged thing, and then all of it happened in a matter of minutes. Whereas this other guy, Simmons, it's like, sure, I mean, I guess he planned too. He probably had him dig that hole on purpose or something. But then he was sitting there for literally like more than a week, right?
Yeah, I mean,
weeks.
The crime started on. Well, no, yeah, they started on the 22nd. They finish on the 28th is the last day, so it's like 6 days.
6 days where he's just constantly dealing with
And
this.
some of those days he's just like hanging out with the murdered bodies of his family.
Yeah. I wonder what those look like. That's got to be crazy stuff.
Oof.
Ooh-wee. Well,
at least we can end like a little bit light on Peeps and Predicts. It's going to be a weird like gear shift getting into something so ridiculous, but at least it'll be like a light, like cleansing. Ooh.
Yeah, there we go. Let's turn the page to something a little more exciting. Or not exciting is the wrong word to use. Something a little more cheery.
Well, David,
chipper.
for those that aren't familiar with Peeps and Predicts, why don't you let them know what's happening here?
Peeps and Predicts. We have Peeps. We have Predicts. Oh, those are the Peeps, actually. We have 2 fictional characters that will be matched up, or that have already been matched up. We draw one randomly. And then we have our predicaments, which is what we're going to kind of debate. We're going to see which character would be better in the situation that is dictated. We do 2 each, and then they go against the reigning champ every week, which for like, I don't know, almost 10 episodes now has been Batman. So toss us some suggestions. We're always looking for more peeps to put in, a pair of people, fictional or real, and shoot us some predicaments as well. Just drop them in the comments. If you want to send an email, that's cool too.
There are no
David
wrong
and Frank and
answers
Beans.
unless you're just completely off the map.
Yeah, I mean, the only ones we wouldn't take is like people who we have no idea who they are, or like, you know, you want to like some obscure anime character. I'm not gonna be able to argue for that person. You know what I mean? But give us some predicaments. We'd love to have a conversation with you. All right, so, oh no, this one hurts deep. Today we have, oh god,
Who do we got, David?
it's so fresh.
Oh my goodness.
Why couldn't we have a nice one? This is from Isaac Medrano, a great guitar player, genuine nice guy. His is Harambe versus Coco the gorilla.
Oh no.
And Coco was alive at the time this was written. This is an older Pete, but
Well, you know what?
unfortunately we got to figure this out.
It's sad that they're both gone from the earth, but it's about to get adorable, David, because you know what they're going to be facing off in first?
What?
We're going to see who's going to win a vigorous game of Fluffy Bunny. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with Fluffy Bunny, it is a child's game played by seeing who can stuff the most marshmallows into their cheeks while saying Fluffy Bunny.
Yeah.
And it is quite adorable.
It is. And until someone dies.
Until somebody chokes and dies, yeah. Until that's less cute, for
Yeah,
sure.
keeping it dark. Well, I'll go ahead and open up with the Coco side. Harambe, he died for our memes. We all know that.
Harambe!
Harambe! Harambe, he was loved by everyone. And by loved, I mean after the video, people got really upset. No one knew who Harambe was before that. Maybe some like diehard
Monkey fan.
yeah, or like, oh man, I love the zoos. Harambe's a gorilla, though. Careful, gorillas aren't monkeys.
They're apes.
Yeah, but they're not monkeys. Are they both gorillas? Wait, is Harambe a gorilla? He is, right?
Yes.
So we have gorilla v gorilla. That's great.
Gorilla v. Gorilla. The infamous case of Gorilla v. Gorilla.
Another Supreme Court case, right?
Mm-hmm.
You never know these days. Harambe, though, wasn't known for his intelligence. Whereas I think Coco, that was like the thing. That Coco was able to communicate with people. Coco couldn't speak English, obviously. But I think that her knowledge would help in a situation where you're playing a game.
She did speak
like that.
English Sign Language.
Yeah, which is closer than Harambe's getting.
I mean, I have no arguments for you, David.
Yeah.
Coco was just the cuter gorilla.
Yeah.
She warmed everybody's hearts. She was totes adorbs. We know that Coco is a winner at being adorable.
That's true. 100% true. Where's Harambe? We only know just that one scenario, but both sad. This is the saddest episode we've ever had.
Saddest episode so far.
Yeah. Well, we got to say Coco then. I think we're both
Coco
in agreement.
for sure.
I think we're both in agreement. Okay, so Coco won.
I don't think anybody out there is going to disagree with us,
none.
David.
Hey, if you have a good argument against us, pop it down in the comments. But I'm going to say right now, you don't.
You don't. Coco
You don't.
wins.
Our argument's better. Coco wins. Okay, here's the next one. I have a participate in the voting process. This is from Frank, not this Frank, but base Frank. I mean, here's one thing about Peeps and Predicts. We've never had non-humans before.
These are definitely our first non-humans.
These are our first non-humans. I know there's at least one more pair of non-humans in there, but both of these predicaments we've had have to involve like being able to just function. You know what I mean?
I mean, Coco's going to take it again.
Coco's going to take it again.
I mean, Coco's going to... If they had ape-centric gorilla activities that they were facing off in, we might have had like a nice, lively debate on which of these magnificent creatures was going to come out on top. But given the construct of this game, I mean, Coco's just going to sweep it.
Yeah.
She's just going to sweep it.
Because she's just more intelligent. And there's
because
no argument
she
against
probably
that.
like knows how to like sweep a floor. That's just like one of the things she knows how to do.
And if you can sweep a floor, you can vote in America.
True. It's in the Constitution, everybody.
Yeah. Well, man, this is a short and sweet Peeps and Predicts, I got to say. Coco's definitely the winner
Coco a
today.
whole bunch. I'm sure you'll throw some pictures of Coco up there.
Maybe. Let's not promise a lot, though. I just got to say that, maybe the thing about Coco playing bass, super awesome.
Biased.
I would argue, what scenario does Coco not win against Harambe? It's almost like this set of peeps in its creation were already, everyone knows it's going to be Coco.
I mean, what if they were wrestling, though? I'm sure Harambe was a younger gorilla.
And a male also.
I mean, Coco just died of old age, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was just like an old lady.
That's true. Could have been that.
She just went to sleep one night and didn't wake up.
Rescuing children, Harambe would have had it.
So beautiful.
I'm sad. I'm sad now that this had to happen. Okay, well, it is time now for the moment Frank's been waiting for. It's now Batman v Coco the gorilla.
Oh man!
And
please let this predicament be being a gorilla.
Somehow I don't think so, but we're gonna
better
find out.
Gorilla impersonation.
What if it was just like
sign language interpreter
killing criminals justly? That could work. Do you want to read the last one? You should read the last one because I just read the other one.
Yeah, let's see what's happening here in this predict.
What's our final
round? Who would you choose to perform a vasectomy?
That one I get from Pablo, who's a great tattoo artist. If you're in El Paso, I'm just saying. Is it Red Skull tattoo? I don't know. I'm giving a bad plug. Really talented guy, talented dude. Everyone went to high school with that one artist, and then their work was just always featured. And you're like, well, that's just great. You know what I mean? Did you have someone like that
for
in
sure.
your high school? Every high
He's
school's
an
got
animator.
one of those people. Yeah, and then they make a living off their craft because they're great at it. I'm sorry, we're talking about vasectomies though.
Speaking of being great at a craft, which one of these characters would you like to craft you a babyless future?
I'm going to go ahead and, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and shut your argument down completely right now because there's no world.
How do you even know who I'm arguing for, David?
There's no world where you would choose
I would.
any gorilla over any human to perform a vasectomy.
I would. If my only choices were Batman and Coco, I'd be like, well, Coco, let's see what you got. I'd give you a shot, kid.
Really? You could sincerely say that you would rather have Coco with the scalpel working on your Frank and Beans.
Well done, David.
Thank you.
Well done. No, I mean, we got to give it to Batman. You
Yeah.
know, he's just like a human. 9 out of 10 doctors agree that the best type of doctor is a human doctor.
Yeah, and the last one, he doesn't really have a degree or anything.
The last one is a
hack
gorilla.
fraud. This one's a gorilla.
Yeah.
A gorilla just like in a lab coat and everything. Oh, I can't seem to agree with the rest of this consensus.
He's
too
that super
funny.
smart gorilla from Overwatch. What's his name? Winston?
Oh, Winston, yeah. Who's basically just Beast from X-Men. But
True.
anyways, well, everyone, you know, we like to end every episode with Batman. With Batman just getting it done. There was a many ups and downs today. The emotional roller coaster. I hope you enjoyed the episode.
It like turned me into the Joker slowly. So I like lose my mind.
Oh, what if you put the Joker in here?
Yeah, somebody needs to toss the Joker in there.
Yeah, well, and we have something cooking. Maybe on this Batman scenario, we'll see what's going on.
Yeah, somehow we'll figure out how to defeat him.
Well, we always appreciate your time, everybody. We hope you like the episode. Let us know if you like this true crime thing. Would you rather us talk about it more? It doesn't have to be murder all the time. I mean, I think true crime is kind of interesting, but I also think a lot of other people do it. So let us know. Did we do okay? What do you
And
think?
regardless, we'll probably delve into it every now and then.
Yeah, we got to.
Yeah, let us know if you want more.
Yeah, we'd appreciate it.
What else do you want?
What do you want?
What do you want?
Tell me what you want. Well, until next time, this has been David, Franklin. Here's looking at you, kid. I don't know.
Get out of here. Get out of here, you crazy kids.